is Ross Mudway
and Carolyn Tran
with CBRS Daily News.
The first story of the day is a brief of Iran's government. The anniversary of last year's election is quickly approaching. Much protest has come from last year's June 12th elections, which were suspected to be rigged. Even so, President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad still remains supreme in the unicameral government. The government remains a controversial theocracy in which there is no separation of church and state. It has been widely opposed by many local militant groups, but as of now, the government remains the same and stable.
Up next is Brandon Drosso with the economy.
Thanks, Ross. And now for Iran's economy. Iran's economy is marked with an inefficient state sector, reliance on the oil sector, which provides a majority of the government revenues, and statistic policies that create a weakness in their system. Most of their economic activity is controlled by the state. Private sector activity is typically limited due to small-scale workshops, farming, and services. The legislature recently passed a bill by President Mohammed Ahmadinejad to reduce subsidy. This would benefit the upper and middle classes, but for Iran's lower class, they would get replaced with cash payments. High oil prices in recent years also allowed Iran to greatly increase its export earnings and nearly $100 billion in foreign exchange in reserves. And further weaknesses, the price controls and the subsidies weigh down the economy. The Iranian government is facing budget constraints, and Iran's foreign exchange reserves have dropped to $81 billion. Although inflation has fallen from 25.6% in 2008, but now it's at 16.8%. And because of the lower oil prices, Iran continues to suffer from 11.8% of unemployed and underemployed citizens. And that's it for now.
Up next, Karen with the weather.
Thanks, Carolyn. This is Karen with the weather. And it's going to be hot all weekend. And on Monday, it's going to be 98 degrees and 30% drought.
Support Iran. FIFA Soccer 2010.
Up next, we'll introduce the person of the decade.
Our person of the decade is Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. He is the current president of the Islamic Republic of Iran. He was born on October 28, 1956. He assumed office on August 3, 2005. He was a civil engineer and a teacher before he was elected president. He won with a landslide in 2005. Since then, Ahmadinejad has developed a reputation internationally for his fiery rhetoric and verbal attacks on the West. And now to move on to my interview that I had with him. Alright, I'm here with my interview with Mr. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. First, Mr. President, would you please describe your campaign, please?
Yes, my campaign focused on poverty, social injustice, and the distribution of wealth inside Iran.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now, it has been known that you have a reputation of frustrating the West. Would you please elaborate on that?
I refuse to give in to the international demands. Iran has the right to civilian nuclear energy. The country is not pursuing nuclear weapons. Iran needs nuclear power and wants to control the whole process itself. The Iranian nation will not succumb to bullying, invasion, and violation of rights. Also, the Holocaust was a myth.
From the research that I have done, I have learned that you are known as the people's friend of Iran.
Yes, I believe that women are the heart of Iranian society. I believe that Iran's wealth should be shared with poor families. I do not insist that women obey Islamic dress codes. I have allowed them to go to the sporting events for the first time since 1979, and I have also campaigned against corruption.
Finally, Mr. President, what have you contributed to Iran while you were in office?
As president, during the first 4 years of my office, I have contributed to economic growth in Iran. Iran now has a better GDP, inflation and unemployment have decreased, I have found subsidies for food and gasoline, interest rates have been cut by law, and I have given Iran economic potential.
Up next, we have the newest edition of Steve's Corner. He will be discussing a brief historical overview of the 20th century events of Iran.
Thanks, Ross. The base in Iran's culture is the Islamic Revolution of 1979. The Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi was pro-Western, in power since 1941. The Shah enforced a strict regime. At the same time, living conditions for the people improved significantly, and many basic human and democratic rights were established. Prime Minister Dr. Shapol Bakhtiar of the opposition was handed some power. He will allow Khomeini to return after years of exile. Khomeini rejected Dr. Bakhtiar's demands and appointed government on his own. Shortly after, the overthrow of the monarchy was completed at the hand of the revolutionaries led by Khomeini. Iran was transformed from a pro-Western constitutional monarchy to a theocratic republic under the rule of Khomeini.
This is Carolyn Tran live from the 2010 Iran Chess Championships. I'm here with the finalists.
Checkmate! Take a walk on the wild side. Eat an Iranian orange. Next up, we have Carolyn Tran with Iran's international relations.
Iran remains a no war, no peace state. The nation has been seen as a rising power, but recent conflicts display a decline in standing. The country is marked by much instability and turbulence. Not only is there internal conflict over foreign policy, but foreign relations are weak. There is an extreme lack of trust, especially with the West. The spiraling conflict with the U.S. has failed to improve, and with the recent nuclear predicament, this has lowered international relations. The nuclear state has become an international threat.
On that note, this wraps up today's daily news.
This has been Carolyn Tran
And Ross Mudway reporting for CBRS News.
Drought. And always it's gonna be hot. After this,
Oh, it just
Shut
fell.
up.
It just fell.
Ross,
Like how
what's
it's being recorded. Yeah.
That was terrible.
well, how did I put?
Hi, I'm Ross Mudway.
And Carolyn Tran.
And this is Karen.
Like, what?
Iranian government is facing a budget. It's facing.
That's it.
Is it necessary, Steve, to touch me?
And his chest. Lower.
That should be fine.
Checkmate!
Thanks, Ross. The base in Iran. Okay, move on. I can't put that.
Should I try again?
Let's do one more time.
Hey, stop!
It's fine. I think he's like.
Oh. For Iran, FIFA 2010.
Oh my god.
Oh!
You're supposed to play!
Let's see how any of these turned out.